Hello everyone. So in this video we will talk about CQ listeners in a component and how to make custom listeners to refresh grandparent in AEM. So first we will see how to make CQ listeners node. So I have created two components. One is container and one is item. I will brief you the use case in a bit later. First let me create a CQ listeners node. So the first node will be CQ edit config node, and please keep in mind that you cannot play around with the spelling, so it should be E small and C capital. Okay, the next is create CQ dot listeners and CQ listener config. Okay, now okay, we have already created the node. Now the following table defines its possible properties. So possible properties of CQ listeners can be these many. So CQ listeners defines what happens before and after you and insert a component, delete a component, edit a component. So there are many some predefined values corresponding to these listeners. So the most commonly used are refresh self, refresh parent, and refresh page. Let's understand these three listeners using a problem statement, and then we will check how to make a custom listener also with the same problem statement. So let's go through with the problem statement. So problem statement is there is one container component. Let's see, this is a container component, and we have included one parses inside it. So you can see the code also. I have included one parses in the container component. In the container.html I have included a parses. Now in the parses I am dragging and dropping the item component. Okay, so I am dragging and dropping the item component, and here it should display the number of item component inside this container, because I'm calling one sling model here. I have already written a sling model of counting the number of items inside this parses. So okay, right now which listener you are seeing? I think no listener. So first I put refresh self. Refresh self. Okay, after insert, after delete, and after edit. Okay, now refresh the page and see what happens. So right now you can see that the container is one, item is one. If I add another container, the value is not refreshing. I delete also, then also nothing. I mean, obviously there was always one. So if I add, I do anything, the value is not changing, because my listener on this item component is refresh self. So it is only refreshing its own HTML. It's not refreshing anything outside this item component. So the next is, can we use refresh parent here? Because I'm inside a container component. So if I refresh parent, maybe the value can get updated. Let's check this out. Okay, now I refreshed the container, the item components and the container is 2. Now I add few more. Still the value is not changing. Why? Have you checked why? Because the hierarchy is like this. Under container I have a parses, and under parses I have items. And if I do refresh parent here, it will only refresh the parses. It is not refreshing the container. Now what to do to refresh container? Now let's check with my another listener. Refresh page, maybe it can help. Okay, save. Now add one item component, and you see the value is now changing because I'm refreshing the whole page. So that's why the value is changing every time I insert, I delete, I do any action, the value is changing. But do I really want to use refresh page? Because it's not a good way to refresh page, because if there's so many components on a page and every time I refresh the page, it takes so much time for authoring. So can we suggest a better solution for this? Yes, we can suggest. So refresh custom listeners to refresh grandparent. So right now you can see that we are here and we want to refresh container. Obviously refresh parent doesn't work because it is only refresh parses. So if we would have something like refresh grandparent, then it would have been solved my problem. But obviously there is nothing available like refresh grandparent. So now it's time to write a custom listener. So function to call, okay, I just copy and paste directly this here, after insert, after delete. Okay, now first I will work with UI listener. So I have already added. I think let's change refresh grandparent .js. Okay, rename it. Okay, one important thing to note here, I will just keep on saying in my previous blogs that if you want to load one client lib in Touch UI, you need to use cq.authoring.dialog. But I have seen that in AEM 6.4, cq.authoring.dialog doesn't work. So I found out one more category, cq.authoring.editor, which can help you. The same thing which you used to do for cq.authoring.dialog. But still, there are few people who say it worked, but for me, it is not working. So I always go with cq.authoring.editor. So I think my JS is pretty much here. Okay, seems good. My calling is ready. Everything is ready. I think it's time to check. So first, clear the cache. Okay. Now I add one more item component. See, it's not even refreshing the whole page, but it just refresh the value because now on sitting on item component I can refresh my grandparent. So how it is working? Let's just see a quick view. So this is the out of the box function. This is my calling method, and I pass this here. So through this function I just refresh cmp dot get parent dot get parent. Maybe if you want to go for with one more parent, then you can go do dot get parent dot get parent. So you can use this listener. I have already write listener for classic UI. I'm not demonstrating it, but yes, it is working perfectly fine. So if you want to do it for classic UI, you can do. One more important thing I would like to highlight here. So if I drag and drop this component something outside where you don't have parent of parent, then this component might break. So always remember, so see, it is breaking because there is nothing like parent of parent. So always keep these things in mind if you are using these kind of listeners. The either you put check one thing in the JS file. The another thing is you always restrict your components to be sit under parses, because the scenario I was facing is this component will only be used under this container. So for my situation, pretty much it works for me. But maybe this is a component which can either be dropped inside here or it can be dropped somewhere outside in the world. So then you need to think before you implement this solution. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.